But I think a lot of the inspiration was from the users on a developer tool like Visual Studio. That's the person that's working on it is like in that tool day in, day out. That's their livelihood. So when we talk to those users, they are so passionate and so excited about the tool, and any change we make is a big deal to them. And so we would bring users in and talk to them, and they just had so many ideas, or we would share ideas and they have so many opinions. So I thought that was fascinating. And the users were what kept me working on developer tools for 5 years.
Welcome to the Technical Difficulties Podcast. I'm Liz Gerber and a design professor at Northwestern.
And I'm Lauren Lynn, and I'm a student who has also worked in the design industry. Each week, we speak with women leaders in design and technology.
Welcome back to the Technical Difficulties Podcast, where we celebrate the careers of amazing female designers and technologists. We're so excited to welcome Moneta Kushner. Moneta is the Director of Product Design at WhatsApp. She leads the design behind messaging, sharing, and calling. Experiences used by billions of people every day, including myself today. But Moneta didn't start in tech. She's trained as an architect before pivoting to UX design, driven by a passion for building digital spaces that matter to many people. Her design journey spans giants like Google, Facebook, and Microsoft. And within each role, she's been echoing her belief that great design can empower communities and elevate everyday experiences. Outside of the tech world, Moneta finds joy in the Pacific Northwest, adventuring with her husband and 2 lively kids. So get ready to hear the stories of a designer who blends structure and soul to shape the way we connect. We can't wait to hear from you, Moneta. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh, thank you. Thanks for the introduction. That was great.
Oh, of course. So a quick warm-up question for you, which is, what is your favorite way to start the morning?
Oh, man. I mean, I love drinking matcha, so I'll always make myself a matcha at home.
Awesome. So you make it at home. Do you have a favorite cup?
The biggest one that's clean.
I love that. Awesome. Okay, next warm-up question is, broadly defined, what's your favorite creativity tool?
Oh, man. I mean, I'm just going to go old school, like sketching, pencil and paper.
Awesome. Do you have a favorite kind of pencil? Number 2? Mechanical?
No. I forget the brand off the top of my head, but they're a little softer lead. It's like a Japanese brand pencil, and it's like the lead is pretty dark. Like number 2 is sort of light and thin, and this is like a heavier line weight.
Awesome. I love that people have tend to have particular pens or pencils that they're into. Awesome. Thanks for answering that question. Okay, so on to your career. How did you get started in tech and design? And in particular, did you have a moment that you're like, I'm a designer, I need to be a technologist, or was it only in retrospect?
Yeah, it's interesting because I was like the last generation that grew up without the internet and like not a lot of screens. So,
Okay.
when I was growing up, I like spent a lot of time doing like arts and crafts. I liked making things. I liked art. I took every art class I could in high school.
Okay.
And when it was time to go to college, then my parents were like, yeah, going to art school is not super practical. You're not going to be able to get a job afterwards. So I chose architecture. That seemed adjacent. So it's still design, but it had more like practical applications.
Yeah.
So then when I went to architecture school, that's when I started like tinkering with digital design. I learned how to use 3D modeling, create animations. I took some computer science courses and like was coding up websites in HTML.
Is that right? What did the websites do? What was the goal of the website?
They were like portfolio of my architecture like work. So pretty like basic, rudimentary, I guess more like marketing websites, like marketing myself, or like, I was the TA for a class. So I would like had the website for the class with links to like the course materials and things like that.
Yeah. So very cool. And just to go back to your childhood, what kind of crafts were you into?
Everything. I liked painting and drawing. I did like jewelry design. I made like jewelry out of like Fimo, like polymer clay. I sewed outfits for my stuffed animals. Anything that was creative, I wanted to, try it out.
Yeah. Do you think, I know this is hard, might be hard to imagine, but do you think if the digital world was as accessible then, do you think you still would have done those handcrafts?
I don't know. I mean, look at my kids. They grew up with a lot of screens and they're like creative kids. Like they could be doing more arts and crafts, but I see that screens are taking up like a larger share of their
Yeah.
free time for better or worse. Right. And definitely not for lack of trying to try to
Yeah.
get them to be interested in like analog activities. I think that, we had almost like the luxury more of like being bored.
Yeah.
Right. And so you'd have to like figure out things to do
Yeah.
growing up.
Tons of board. I mean, I remember I had a book, it was titled like 101 things crafts to do on rainy days or something like that. And I literally like went through every single activity, right? Because that
That's
was
awesome.
my source of
Yeah, I
ideas.
love those books. I love those books. Yeah, like everything I tried, like sock puppets and crochet and like knitting and like
Right.
making like mud pies in the backyard. Like,
Totally. Yep. Right. Right. Everything. And now I find myself even kind of transfixed by, now I get some weird satisfaction out of just watching other people make things. Right. Like the other day I was on YouTube just watching people make, pies basically. And I thought, like, I wonder, this is a different experience, right? Watching somebody make an elaborate pie is very different than making it yourself. Yeah. And I was just thinking about how is this
yeah, I
experience
love that. I
different?
mean, there's like, with like TikTok, like I've often found myself in like the algorithm, like the craft talk, and I'm just like in a, just like video after video and so engaging, like watching
It's
people make
so
like little like dollhouse furniture or like
yeah,
very obscure arts and crafts, like making dyes out of like flowers.
yeah. I get really into it. And then the other thing that strikes me is that they all do it so perfectly, right? And obviously they've practiced a ton, right? They're only recording their best effort. Whereas like when I was a kid, I would try something, that would be perfect in the book and I'd give it a try. And it was sort of like, sort of worked, sort of didn't, right?
Yeah, well, they're on social media, people are putting their best foot forward. So you didn't see that they were like 10 tries before the one that you saw.
Right, right. You didn't see all the things that didn't work. And I wonder how that kind of influences people's sense of like the effort that it takes to get things to be good at something. I was just kind of curious.
It might be a bit of a tangent, but there's this really great story about like this, like it might be Chinese or Japanese calligrapher. So there's like in the village, there's this very well-known calligrapher, like does beautiful work. Everyone goes to this person for the calligraphy. And so a person in the village asked him, like, oh, could you please like write my name and in calligraphy? And the calligrapher's yeah, of course. And every time he saw him, so it's like, how's it going? Have you written my name yet? And it's like, no. And he kept like stalling. And like many weeks later, he finally like goes to the guy's house and it's just like, hey, you said you would write my name in calligraphy. When are you going to give that to me? And so like he pulls out a piece of paper and then he does the calligraphy of the name. It's perfect. It's beautiful. And it's just like, it took like a minute. It's like, wow, if it only took you a minute, how come I've been asking you for like weeks and months to do this?
Yeah.
And then he takes him to the room next door and opens the door, and it's just like all the practice papers. So he's been practicing for all those months to get it just perfect so he could do it in like 1 minute.
Oh, that's such a great story. Oh, I love that. That's really brilliant. Well, it strikes me that when I met you, you and your colleague were demonstrating a really cool feature on WhatsApp that was helping people make imagery of like using AI to make new images.
Yes. Yeah. So like imagine.
Yeah, and I used it right away. I was sitting next to a colleague as you were presenting, and we were doing it in real time. And I was making them, and I was so blown away by the quality. I mean, it was phenomenal.
Oh, that's great to hear.
We were showing our images back and forth to each other, and they were so perfect. Like, not, they were so high quality. High quality is the word. And I've just been thinking about that experience, and we're two very visual people, and how the immediate gratification of getting those images so quickly, and just thinking about how that has influenced thinking about how I even create and think about how I can create. So thanks for being part of that and sharing that.
Oh
that
yeah,
tour.
of course. And like the story, there's a lot of work that went into that so that you would get a high quality image, like
Right away,
years.
right? Yeah, you were working like the calligrapher behind the ears behind, so that right away I got it and it looked perfect right away, right? Okay, thank you for that deviation. Back to your career. Can you share more about your pivot from we were getting down in architecture? You started working more with digital tools, but eventually you got to UX design. So tell me about
Yeah,
how
so
you moved
then
from.
when I graduated, this was like early 2000s. So it was really
Okay,
like when the web was blowing up, and it was
yeah.
like a pretty exciting time.
Yeah. Nobody had smartphones yet, just also to set the stage, right? Like people had cell phones, but not smartphones.
Yeah, and they were just getting cell phones.
Just
And
getting cell phones, yeah.
I think like the web was still a bit of the Wild West. There weren't like established patterns, and people were trying a lot of different things. People did not have formal educations in digital design. So
Not at all.
anyone that had any type of design background and had some like basic web skills could get a job working on the web.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, so then I had a friend, so I was interested in getting into that space. I was like, oh wow, this is like very exciting. It's like a early time period in this like new technology. And I had a friend working at a small design agency called IO Media in New
Okay.
York. And so he told me like, oh, we're hiring another designer. Are you interested? This person needs to like work with Macromedia Flash. And I
Yeah.
told him like, oh, I know how to use Flash, but actually I did not. So then I like rushed over to like Union Square, Barnes and Nobles, and I like literally bought the like Flash for Dummies physical book. And I just cranked over like a weekend before my interview. And I like just took my kind of portfolio and I put it in Flash and I interviewed and I got the job. So
Okay. First of all, I just love that you bought the book for dummies, because those are, I don't know if they're still big, but those were huge. That
oh
was the way
yeah, back in
that was
that
the crash. It
time.
was like the pre-YouTube. That's how you learn things
Yes.
really quickly, right? You got this book called Book for Dummies. It
And
had
they
all
had
the
a very
basics of it.
like specific like yellow color and branding, and they had like a stick figure to
Yeah.
like emphasize that you're a dummy,
I learned a lot from those books.
Yeah.
But I love it. And then you went to a physical bookstore to get the book also as a
Yes.
timepiece.
Yeah.
Okay, so you learned how to do that. So quick question, what about parental expectations for, wait, you just did this degree in architecture, aren't you going to be an architect? What did you do with parental expectations at that time?
Yeah, I mean, I think I actually got a job as an architect or junior architect in New York right when I graduated. So that maybe kind of satiated the parental
Yeah.
expectations, but I wasn't very happy there, right? Like in architecture.
That was a big deal. Getting an architect job right out of school is a big deal. So congrats.
Oh, thank you. I mean, I think that it was like a very big firm. And so, right, I was more like kind of like AutoCAD production.
Yeah.
It might not have been also the right fit, like maybe a smaller firm where I could have done more things, but I was doing pretty kind of dry, like making sure like there's enough stairs in the fire stairs and like, in a, cramming like the smallest bathroom you can design so that like all the things would fit, and just doing a lot on like drafting in AutoCAD, like cranking out those drawings. So on the side at night I was also like playing around with like building websites and doing like freelance freelance work to try to build my skills. And then I interviewed for the new job while I had the previous architecture job, and I made the switch. And I was working as an architect for like less than a year. It was probably like 8 months.
Oh, is that right? Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
And then so you crammed on Macromedia, and presumably you got the job.
Yes.
Okay. And then where'd you go from there?
Yeah. So then at the job, I was like designing like marketing CD-ROMs and flash animations and websites. But I was pretty excited about the work, but I wanted to like level up and do it at a higher level. And so I, decided, well, maybe I should go back to grad school and really focus on digital design. And then that's when I, got into a program at MIT, the Comparative Media Studies program, which is a program where you kind of can choose your own path. So I took as
Yeah.
many design courses as I could. I cross-registered at like Harvard and took classes at the Graduate School of Design there.
Yeah.
I had the professors there had great contacts. So my advisor, he actually had a contact at Electronic Arts. So that I got an internship that summer after the first year of grad school at Electronic Arts, working out of the Maxis studio, which does Sims and SimCity. So I was on the web design team, and I was doing work in preparation for Sims 2 and the SimCity Rush Hour expansion pack.
So cool. And I just to set time expectations too, you're taking design classes at Harvard, but if I'm correct on the timing, there's not a lot of classes called UX design at the time, right? I mean, UX design is still, even as a title, a bit new.
Yeah. No, the classes I took were like interactive spaces with Alan Seig. And so we did things like we designed like, museum exhibit kind of things. Like we hooked up Flash to a projector so that if you ran across the projection screen, you'd have like particles and Flash that followed you. I took a class called like Java for designers, or Java programming for designers. And actually, it was at Harvard that I met Anisho Matthew, who organized that Shift Summit at IIT where we met.
Oh, is that right? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So I thank you for making that connection. I think there's two things I want to draw out from this. Is one is like when you're at the forefront of a field, you're sort of piecing together, like the field isn't always named. You're just putting the pieces together that make sense. And then the other one is the thing you've called out is the importance of connections. Like you met some people who helped you get interesting jobs, who invited you to be a speaker, and now that made it possible for us to meet. And so these were all sort of critical, navigating the ambiguity of a at the forefront of a field, and then also making connections with people who had similar passions and excitement. Seemed to be.
But yeah, it's so important. Like I think that was the best part of grad school was the networking and connections.
Yeah. Being with people who were excited to be in this sort of uncertain, pioneering space. Thanks for sharing that. I appreciate that. So you've had a long and successful career. I'm wondering if you are willing to share sort of a career-defining moment in the last 2 decades, and it could be kind of a success, or it could be a failure, or what we might call a learning moment that really radically kind of shifted the way you see the work that you do.
Yeah. I guess there's like so many learning moments along the way. I think like a big shift was, when I went from like being a individual contributor, like designer on the team, to like then supporting other designers as a design manager and leader. So during that shift, I've really broadened my definition of what design is, right? Like there's what you traditionally think of a designer, like making things, which is why I got into design in the first place. Like I loved making things and being hands-on. But then, at some point that no longer scales. So when you have a larger team, then I've like shifted how I think about designing. So I'm like designing the org and creating the conditions with which high quality design can flourish.
Oh, cool. So how do you do that?
Yeah. So for example, it's like getting the right people, the right mix of talent on the team, coaching and mentoring them, matching their skill sets with like projects that are complementary to their skill sets, like understanding where they want to be stretched and grow, and help them like find those opportunities, carve out the space for them to do that. Like when you work in a product organization, oftentimes there's a lot of like focus on execution, but I know that like I try to keep my organization also like looking ahead and creating like vision that we can like the whole org can align towards, and keep like innovating. So I will like carve out space for people to do like vision work and imagine what the product looks like, 1 to 3 years out. And so that's been like, very gratifying as a designer is just like seeing the output there and seeing how I've helped other designers grow.
Yeah.
And then, now we're, on the, like, there's a big shift in our tools, right? Like, we are now able to leverage AI to make our jobs more efficient. And so, one of the things that I'm thinking about right now is how can I carve out the time for folks on my team to upskill, like, leverage like these tools where you can build prototypes almost instantly, right? Like, how can they integrate them in their current workflows and be, have even more impact?
Yeah. Oh, so many questions to ask here. So when you're managing more junior people, sort of what kind of characteristics do you look for, and who are the people who really kind of thrive in this fast pace environment?
Yeah, I think like when managing junior people, you're looking for potential. So people with a lot of curiosity and that can, are good with like taking feedback and using that to grow. Also looking for people that are just like willing to do everything in the service of like learning. I mean, I
Yeah.
guess that speaks to curiosity, but I do recall that like when I first started working, and this is like a continuation of how I got it broke into tech, is like after I had the internship at Electronic Arts, then I got hired at Microsoft, which moved me out to Seattle, and the product that I was working on was Visual Studio, and it's a developer tools,
Yeah.
and it's quite dry. It's not like more glamorous consumer facing product, and some of the early features that I worked on were like probably the driest, maybe from an outside perspective, most boring kind of experiences, like literally like dialogues and like putting text boxes and grids inside a gray box.
Yeah.
But it allowed like developers to like, connect to servers and
Yeah.
and get their jobs done. So I always try to take an attitude that like, this is all in the service of learning. And so I think it's like having early in your career not being above working on any type of product because you can actually find the joy and interest in there. I mean, I thought that, when I first started working on developer tools, I'm like, oh, this is only going to be like a 1 year thing. I'm going to get the experience under my belt and then I'm going to like try to get working on a consumer product. But I end up working on it for 5 years because it's actually pretty like interesting interaction design problems, a very interesting like user base. So, you'll probably find the joy in work in unexpected places.
Yeah. I love that. Did you have any mentors at the time that helped you see that work differently or that really inspired you? Or was that something that you kind of came to on your own, that approach?
I mean, I think with it takes a certain type of designer that works on developer tools. In fact, a
Yeah.
lot of them my colleagues that I work with were not even like didn't have a design background. They were developers with an interest in design, and that's how they became product designers on Visual Studio. But I think a lot of the inspiration was from the users, and we had a lot of user researchers that I worked very closely with. They were like a lot of the mentorship that I had early in my career, because on a developer tool like Visual Studio, that's the person that's working on it is like in that tool day in, day out. That's
Yep.
their livelihood. So when we talk to those users, they are so passionate and so excited about like the tool, and any change we make is a big deal to them. And so we would do like kind of engagements where we would bring users in and talk to them, and they just had so many ideas, or we would share ideas and they have so many opinions. So I thought that was fascinating, and that was actually what like the users were what kept me working on developer tools for 5 years, and I still think that is an amazing audience. And working in tech, I work with developers every day, so that actually ended up giving me a great background in understanding how they work.
Yeah. I really love that. I love that idea that your users were your mentors. I think that's really beautiful and really honoring the people that you're designing for in a lovely way. Thanks for sharing that.
Oh yeah, of course.
Were there any missteps you took? Your career sounds, again, you've worked for all these giants, you've done everything so successfully. Was there anything you tried that didn't work for you for whatever reason?
Yeah, I mean, I think I've definitely worked on products that were not hits, right?
Okay. Okay.
And so there's a lot of learning there. Like
Yeah.
at Microsoft again, I worked on Windows 8.
Okay.
And so I think it was like kind of early on in the transition to like devices that were, touch enabled. We were really excited about like bringing Windows to all these new devices, like, tablets and
Yeah.
touchscreens. But right, it was like a strategic decision, right? At the time, there are two OSs, operating systems at Microsoft that they could have leaned into. One is, Windows Phone, which is already optimized for touch,
Yeah.
but it had a very small user base.
Yep.
And then there's Windows, which has a billion users, and people were pretty happy with Windows 7. So the decision made like above me at a strategic level is let's make Windows 8 touch optimized. And I think the devices weren't there, the users weren't ready. And so we built this whole OS optimized for touch, but people were happy with what they had. So even though it was a big accomplishment to redesign like the Windows operating system, it was not, it was a bit of a miss, right, with the market.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of like I could probably spend a whole session on like the learnings from that experience. But a lot of it also goes back to like making sure that what you're designing is like solving a real user need. And users of Windows they were happy with the experience. They didn't need a touch optimized version of it because they didn't have the devices yet. And so I think we were just a bit too early there.
I think a lot of technology has been that way. I look back, I mean, I'm fascinated by what's happening right now with smart glasses, right? And I think back on the original launch of Google Glass,
yes.
and I just think that just was way ahead of its time. It was just, we weren't there yet.
Yeah. And there's also things with like the design, right? Like I think with glasses, the key thing is like people like that wore Google Glass, it did not look like a regular pair of glasses. So
Correct.
they stood out in the crowd like a sore thumb.
Correct.
And
Correct.
people would be very upset if they saw someone in public wearing Google Glass because like, are you recording me?
Right. Right. Well, but that's a great point. But so much has changed in terms of privacy expectations too, right? In that time, right? I mean, just it's like we're in a very different time than we were when those came out. Also, talking out loud, right? The Google Glass required, or at least the demo video I remember, required you to say, "Hey, Google Glass, do this," right? That was a weird idea that you would walk down the street and talk out loud. And now I don't I don't flinch when I see somebody walking down the street talking out loud.
Yeah, that was definitely like 10 years too early.
Yeah, it was that was fascinating. Yeah. Thank you for that. So, okay, so what's a learning or two, given that wasn't really that was a strategic, leadership decision. What's a learning?
Well, I
that
mean,
you've
learning
brought
here is to
forward from that?
listen to the users, right?
Yeah.
Were
Yeah,
they
yeah.
asking for like a touched optimized operating system? And,
Yeah.
they were using it on a desktop, and there's this promise of all these tablets and like new device form factors that were coming out, but they hadn't hit like a critical mass yet.
Yeah.
I think as a more junior person in my career at the time, I probably wouldn't have been able to impact a decision made by VPs, but I think that
Right.
we could have done more to like escalate the voice of the user and like
Yeah.
try
Okay.
to like flag to our leadership to take it more seriously.
I appreciate that. Yeah. That's what I was going to follow up with. Like, so as you're a junior person, you don't have the ear of the VPs. What do you do? And I like your response, which is you collect more of this data and you share more of the voice of what people are saying. I appreciate that. Okay. We're going to come to the present now. And I want to ask you what you're really excited about that you're working on today. And sort of part of this, so I want to know what you're excited about. And then the other part of this is like, how do you stay excited about what you're working on today in this sort of what I'm increasingly feel like this world of like deadlines and, increased efficiency and when you can prototype in a second, all these sort of how do you stay excited and creative and open-minded in this day and age when there's increasing pressure to be productive, I might say, or maybe you don't feel that. So I'll leave it open to you.
I mean, I think that you really try to find like the best case is if you can find a product to work on where you really believe in the mission. And I've been a WhatsApp user for many years. I have like a lot of friends and family that are overseas, and that's my primary way to keep in touch with them.
It's incredible for that.
Pretty amazing.
Game changer. Yeah, real game changer.
Yeah, I mean, you used to have to pay, like get a calling card, or like even the old WhatsApp before it got bought by Meta had like a fee to use it.
Yep.
But now it's just it's like open it up. It's made the world smaller.
There's so much. My niece just went off to Spain yesterday, and I've already talked with her. Right.
Oh, nice.
It's been wonderful, and I've seen pictures. I know where she is. I know what's happening. Right. It's a game changer.
Yeah.
Okay. So
I think it's hard. It's easy to stay motivated if you think about like what is the end goal. Yeah, like the day to day, like the efficiency, trying to do more with less, like less resources. It's like, it's that can be tough to navigate. But if you just take a step back and you're like, what is the end goal here? It's like, why am I coming to work every day? It's because we're building this product that we believe in and that actually billions of people rely on.
Billions, literally.
Yeah. No, there's like, we publicly announced like this year that we've hit like 3 billion users on WhatsApp, which is, incredible.
Does that add pressure though too? Does that anxiety to you? Like, oh shoot, we have 3 billion people working on this or using this.
Oh yeah, 3 billion people working on it would be interesting.
Yeah, sorry.
Keep it all outlined, but yeah, 3 billion. Yeah, it's a big responsibility.
Yeah.
And that's why, we, sometimes we get critiques about like, oh, how come like WhatsApp looks the same like year after year? It's like, you don't actually, from a responsible design point of view, if it's something that people are relying on every day, you're not going to make big changes. And we actually very intentionally make the changes in a way that people almost forget, like after a few weeks, that it even changed. So we're always building new features into the app, and you may just not realize it as a user, but then it's there.
Isn't that interesting? Because some products like celebrate new and improved. Look at all the changes we've made, and it sounds like actually you want to do the opposite. You want it to be so seamless people don't even notice. That's an interesting.
Yeah, the design shouldn't get in the way, right?
Yeah,
it should be just like, I need to message someone, I need to call someone. But then we've added things like, now you can share your screen when you're calling someone. And right, like it's, that just feels so natural. Or even just a couple years ago, you could not like react to a message. And, people, when you talk to them, like, oh, wasn't that always there? No, we added it. But it's, we're just like constantly adding things, and they just feel so natural in the flow of what you're doing that users may not realize that it's actually changed quite a bit from, a couple of years ago.
Yeah. I'm just remembering something that happened to me 2 days ago and you just happen to be the person I'm talking to. So I'm not putting this on WhatsApp. This is just a writ large question. Why do we still butt dial? That's my question. I literally I'm mountain biking with my kids the other day, and all of a sudden I hear a voice coming from my phone in my pants, and somebody's like, Liz, what's going on? And I realized that I've accidentally called my friend. And I pick it up and I laughed and I said, oh, I'm so sorry. I'm out mountain biking of all things, right? The last thing I meant to do was call her. And I'm thinking, wow, look at all these technologies we have. And yet we are still doing this funny butt dialing people. This just makes me laugh. I'm laughing at it. So why do we still do that?
Yeah. I mean, it's like we actually talk about these, like,
that's not your problem. I'm just,
no, it's like, it's, on one hand, in some cases, you want calling someone to be so frictionless, like when you need to them. So, for example, you're calling someone you call all the time, like your spouse or something, and they're like a favorite on your phone. You want to be able to, when you need to talk to them, you want to tap the button and just talk to them. So, like a lot of apps have removed that friction, but then at the same time, because it's just a one tap action, then if it happens to be in your back pocket and you did not close the app, then you end up butt dialing them.
Right. Yeah, okay. So that's interesting. So it's like the challenge between wanting to make it so easy, but the friction. I like the idea that you're right. It's the friction. I so appreciate that some things are so frictionless, but maybe this is a case when I need to introduce more friction so that I'm not doing this funny thing. Thank you for that's interesting. So what are there other use cases that you commonly toss? It's good to know that even the large companies are talking about butt dialing. It's not just me. Are there other common human things that people just keep doing that you that you can share? Only that you can share.
Accidental taps, right? Like there's
yeah. Okay.
There's like we talk about things like the fat finger effect. Like if you're on touch screens and like the buttons are too close together, you try to tap one thing and then you end up tapping something else. We talk a lot about like muscle memory, right? If you use something a lot, you have a certain muscle memory.
Mm-hmm.
And then if that gets changed, then, people feel very like disrupted.
Yeah, right.
The call button was always here and now it's moved to another spot. And now I've just like disrupted my, normal flow.
Mm-hmm. My daughter just we just upgraded her from her 8th grade phone that had a home button. And she's like mortified. She doesn't know what to do without her physical home button. She's
it's because it's developed
very disoriented.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that brings me my next question, which is, are there any design trends or technologies you're particularly excited about right now? Like anything, or new interaction techniques or things that you think are exciting?
The common answer that everyone is going to say is like really like AI, right? How do we use it to be more productive? One of the things that I am dealing with every day is like things like information overload. So like, emails and chats and messages, and there's just so much coming at you. And how do you separate the signal from the noise? And I think there's like a lot of interesting productivity tools working in that space is where how can you kind of leverage AI to distill the things that you need to know and make you more productive.
Oh my gosh. Sort of maybe related to how to be more productive. What's something in your career, and this can be anything, that you still want to learn or do? It doesn't have to be work related. It could be, something else. I've had somebody tell me they want to become an electrician, which surprised me, but anything goes.
Yeah, I guess like getting back to like the AI stuff, like I'm really interested in like vibe coding.
Oh yeah.
And now, right, I think that designers' roles are going to be shifted a bit, right? Like the lines between like design and PM and engineering are going to blur because we're enabled by these tools, which is super cool. Like I was playing around with Cursor, and it's built upon the Visual Studio IDE, which actually I had worked on like nearly 20 years ago. And it's like blows my mind, like how easy it is to code now, right? It's just like you ask the agent to do something and then it generates code. And then, you can go in and ask them to like tweak it, or you can go in and edit it yourself. Definitely I want to keep learning, how to use these tools and how to make that shift. And actually, one of the things that I think is very interesting is it feels similar to, when I was thinking about how I got into tech, it was during like the web kind of revolution. And now it sort of feels like that same era where there's not like, the patterns have not been solidified. There's a lot of different startups and companies trying different things.
Oh, that's cool.
And so there's a lot of energy.
That's very cool. And I, to your point, there's like the lines of who's expert at what is being questioned. At the conference where we met, somebody, I don't know if you recall, but somebody said, the designers are now coding and the coders are now designing. And that really struck me of like, well, okay, are the old titles even holding?
Yeah,
do they hold
I think
merit?
that, like, we might have to like not be so precious about our titles anymore. And it's like people are just going to be like builders.
Ooh, that's exciting. I like that. I like that idea. Ooh, I really like that. Brilliant. Thank you. We will conclude by me asking you, Moneta, what is one piece of unexpected advice you have for those entering your field, which I guess we'll define now as the field of building?
Yeah. I mean, I think there's not going to be one clear path to being successful. I mean, I guess if you look at my experience, I thought I was going to be an architect, and then
Yeah.
I found this other interest in digital design along the way, and I was able to adapt and find the path that's right for me. So that's kind of how I approach my career. And sometimes I've gotten like, you know, things come out unexpectedly, right? Like I was planning to work on like this one product, and then it shut down, and then like, oh, now I've got to go to plan B. I've got to find a different role. And actually that other role that I found ended up being something where I learned a lot. So kind of like rolling with the punches and trying to make the most of what's given to you, and just always be curious and try to keep learning. I don't know if this is like unexpected advice, but I think that it's what's helped me be successful. And then, like I said before, with like, look at everything with like the learning lens, right? Like never be above like working on any particular thing. And over time, then people see you as like the person that is reliable and can get stuff done. And then when you develop that reputation, then more work can come your way. And so I feel like now, after many years of doing that, I've been able to then, like I did successfully switch over to like working on consumer projects. Right?
Yeah. I like that. And now that's what you do. And people know you can get it done no matter what the technology is or what the challenge is. I think that's brilliant. As you were talking, it made me think about, I think it is unexpected because we have this, K-12 system where we have every grade labeled, first grade, second grade, third grade, and then you do college and maybe you do grad school. But then we don't have labels for like what you do when you're 28 and what you do when you're 29. Like why doesn't every year get a grade level, right? Like now you're in grade 30, now you're in grade 31, right? Like why do we have this limit it? So I think it is unexpected because the rest of our system is not organized for that. And it also, I want to bring it back also to your reference to the books for dummies, the books for dummies. I think they are definitely committed to lifelong learning. That series had the point of view that you could learn anything at any time.
Actually, I love that mindset. It's just like, you can do anything really if you just put your mind to it.
Yeah.
And you could do it in a neatly packaged, like, not that even that thick book.
Well, but I think that was the brilliant design of it, right? It's like it didn't seem overwhelming. They made it feel like it was like, here's how you get started, right? Yeah, of course, you're not going to be an expert by the end of this, but like they gave you just enough to get started. It was a very well designed doorway into a new field, and I think it was beautifully designed, a well designed series. Well, thank you so much for sharing your time and stories with us, Moneta. It's been a real joy. And thank you to our listeners for taking the time to listen to the Technical Difficulties podcast, which is produced by the Center for Human-Computer Interaction and Design and the McCormick School of Engineering at Northwestern University. That was Moneta Ho Kushner, and you can find out more about her in the show notes. You can learn more about the show by going to technicaldifficultiespodcast.com. Drop us a note at technicaldifficultiesteam@gmail.com or leave us a review on your favorite podcast app.